Today, I should tell you, the USS Abraham Lincoln is finally heading home after a brutal and record-breaking time at sea. The aircraft carrier and its crew of about 5,000 sailors are on their way to San Diego. We here on the show have been covering the concerns of family members of those aboard the Lincoln for a while now. Concerns about sailors' mental health, their safety on deck, a lack of supplies, food shortages, water contamination, you name it. Family members say the situation on the ship had become so dire that multiple sailors have attempted to go overboard. Now, of course, the Pentagon has denied all of these concerns. Trump himself has even denied the very fact that military families are concerned, which is quite a thing to deny. And while a lot of reporters have done a really excellent job covering what has been happening on the USS Lincoln, including our colleagues here, Priya Sridhar and Lindsay Papia, but one outlet's coverage has been particularly notable. The military newspaper Stars and Stripes, the one I just mentioned in Talking with Ali. And that's because as a publication partially funded by the Pentagon, their coverage was effectively reporting on themselves. While a lot of civilians might be unfamiliar with their work, Stars and Stripes is a key part of our news ecosystem. If you work in government, if you work in national security, you definitely read Stars and Stripes, as do so many military families across the world. The paper was founded during the Civil War and has been continuously published since World War II. While other news outlets chase all sorts of stories, Stars and Stripes is just focused on what is happening in our military, day in and day out. They have a record of reporting on the military objectively, even on sensitive topics that might make the military look bad. For military members and their families all around the world, it is a key news source. It's also a key news source for us in the larger news world. And the reason it is so key is because it is editorially independent from the Pentagon, or at least it has always been. Now, back in January, the Washington Post reported that applicants for jobs at Stars and Stripes were being asked how they would support President Trump's policies. They were asked questions like, how would you advance the president's executive orders and policy priorities in this role? And identify one or two relevant executive orders or policy initiatives that are significant to you and explain how you would help implement them if hired. Not exactly the kind of questions you would ask an independent newspaper to ask its prospective hires, right? Well, it turns out leadership in the newspaper didn't know that these questions were being asked. They were being asked automatically by the government website that prospective hires applied through. They were being asked by the Trump administration, essentially. Now, the day after that report, the Pentagon's chief spokesperson, Sean Parnell, tweeted that the Pentagon was returning Stars and Stripes to its original mission, reporting for our warfighters, which to him meant, quote, and these are his words, refocus its content away from woke distractions. Now, the first real clue as to what that actually meant came from the conservative outlet, The Daily Wire. Pentagon officials told The Daily Wire that the plan was for the paper's content to be written by active duty service members, with 50% of the paper's content composed of materials generated by the Pentagon. And amazingly, no one told the people who actually ran Stars and Stripes that was the plan. The editor-in-chief of the paper, Eric Slavin, told the New York Times that all he had to go on was what he had read in the Daily Wire. Now, for its entire history, Stars and Stripes has been partly funded by the Pentagon, and its staffers have been Defense Department employees. But Congress mandated the publication be independent. Congress even mandated that the newspaper hire an ombudsman whose entire role would be defending the paper's editorial independence. In response to questions the Trump administration was making their prospective hires answer, the paper's ombudsman at the time, Jacqueline Smith, told the Washington Post, quote, asking prospective employees how they would support the administration's policies is antithetical to Stripes' journalistic and federally mandated mission. A few months later, the Pentagon issued a memo drastically expanding its oversight of the paper. The memo barred the paper from running stories from wire services like the Associated Press and even banned cartoons from being run. And most importantly, stated that the paper's content had to be consistent with, quote, good order and discipline. Now, as the paper's ombudsman told CBS News, they could say anything is against good conduct. The paper's ombudsman told the Washington Post that the memos threatened Stars and Stripes' continued editorial independence and that it did so at the detriment of the troops who rely on the newspaper for complete coverage and continued accurate coverage that is not propaganda. A month later, she was fired. And she put it in her final column. Apparently, the Pentagon also doesn't want you to hear from me anymore about threats to the editorial independence of Stars and Stripes. That's what she wrote in her final column. No official reason was given for her firing, but she also wasn't able to contest it. And then last month, one of the newspaper's reporters, Laura Cordy, gave one of the most appropriate statements I could really ever imagine a reporter giving about her role at the paper. Here was that statement, given as part of an interview with CBS News.
I'm working for Stars and Stripes, not for the Pentagon, not for any administration, not for any policymaker. I'm here to cover the military community.
Today, Cordy was fired. In a statement, she said that the Defense Department had fired her for insubordination because of her statement to CBS, because she said she works for Stars and Stripes and not the Pentagon, because she said that paper was independent. Today, the Pentagon also fired the paper's editor-in-chief. The editor-in-chief says he was fired for insubordination over something he said in an interview when answering a hypothetical question about his journalistic standards, a question about where his red line would be if the Pentagon attempted to censor or withhold unfavorable news.
Do you have red lines in your mind?
Yes, I do.
Give me a red line.
Well, don't run a perfectly accurate story. Run this instead. Here it is, written by the Pentagon. That would be a red line.
Joining me now here at the table is Eric Slavin, who you just saw in that clip, the editor-in-chief of Stars and Stripes, who was fired today by the Pentagon. And with us live from Germany is Laura Cordy, a Stars and Stripes reporter who was also fired today. Thank you both so much for being here. I know today must have been a whirlwind for both of you. Let me start with you, Eric. For people who are just tuning into this, we just gave them a whole lot of information there. We tried to. Walk us through what happened today.
Well, certainly this was not what I expected when I woke up in the morning. I was going about my job. I was planning stories. I was planning one of Laura's stories, actually, about the Navy evacuees from Bahrain and the challenges that they're facing. And then around 12:30 in the afternoon, I received a notice of proposed separation from the Pentagon Public Affairs Office.
An email?
An email, yes. The email said that I would be separated in no less than 5 business days.
And did they give you any explanation in that email?
Yes, they pointed to the CBS interview, and they said that my hypothetical that you just saw, which didn't say I would disobey anything or contradict anything. It simply said that I would affirm what the policy is, which is no news censorship or management. And that's been the DoD policy. That's been in the National Defense Authorization Act, and it's been in a number of places. So I feel like I affirm that, but they consider that insubordination.
And that was the clip we just played, to be clear. That's
yes.
what they're saying you were fired for today.
Mm-hmm.
Let me bring you into this, Laura. I know, and I just read part of the statement, but again, for people who were tuning into this story, and you were coming to us from Germany. So first of all, thank you for being up with us and sharing this. I think it's so important for people to hear about. When and how did you learn that you were fired today?
My timeline was quite similar to Eric's. As he mentioned, we were working on putting out a story today, going about our jobs. And it was more like 6:30 p.m. my time, I received an email with the notice of separation.
And were you given a similar reason? Were you given a reason in that email as well?
Yeah, similarly, they cited the CBS interview. They specifically cited the comment that you referenced about how I work for Stars and Stripes, which is in fact a statement of fact and a reaffirming of our editorial independence. And they said they consider that insubordination, and similarly gave me a 5-day period.
I have to ask, I mean, as I noted, I'm a reader of Stars and Stripes. We've used your reporting as we've talked about the USS Abraham Lincoln and a number about the war in Iran and a number of other occasions. Stars and Stripes has been reporting on everything from munition shortages, accurate accounts of the number of service members, something that we don't always have accurate information on from the Pentagon, as well as military families stranded in the Middle East. Laura posted a story on that just today. I just wonder how you think about your firing in the context of all that reporting.
Well, I'm very proud of the reporting that we've done, especially in recent weeks. We were the first to report many details of what happened aboard the USS Lincoln. And I'm concerned about the future rights of service members to a free and independent press. I think that what we do is one of the greatest expressions of American values that we can show the world. We believe in the First Amendment so much that we are willing to partially fund a newspaper that at times may hold government to account.
I know this is not what they stated. They stated specifically the CBS News report, but or your interview, I should say, is there any part of you that is concerned that some of the reporting that was critical of the handling of the war or some of those topics I just mentioned was a factor here?
Well, as you said, it wasn't in the separation notice that I received, so it's hard for me to speculate if that was a factor, but we do know that the administration wasn't happy about the reporting. They didn't single out Stars and Stripes, but they did talk about the reporting on the USS Lincolns.
Laura, you also posted a story just today. It was about families who've been evacuated from Bahrain and the challenges they're going through. We can reshare that as well. I've gone through a lot of your reporting today. What do you think? Do you have that concern that even though it wasn't stated in the email to you that it could have been a factor?
I mean, it's hard to say at this point. Similar to Eric, there was no mention of any specific articles in my notice of separation. I will say we have been, covering this protracted conflict in Iran pretty diligently for the past 6 months, and I'm really proud of the coverage that me and my colleagues have produced. I think it's important. There are families and service members going through a lot right now, and some people may feel like that reflects good or bad on, the government given the situation, but it's simply the truth. It's simply the fact of the matter. And we feel like we owe it to service members to share the reality about their experiences.